Hi, everyone. How many of you know Heath Ledger? Please raise your hand. Okay. How many of you know the Joker, the character? Good. Heath Ledger was an Australian actor who portrayed the Joker in The Dark Knight. That performance is considered by many one of the most complex and nuanced performances by an actor in the 21st century. And I'm of the same opinion. When I saw the movie, I was 11 years old, and you can imagine the impact it had on me. I had already started acting, and I wanted to get there, to make big films, important films. And I didn't want to be Batman, like many kids my age wanted to know. I wanted to be the Joker. And, to be fair, wanting to play a psychotic character that paints his face as a clown and has green hair might seem a little odd, but that's what I wanted. And looking back at it, I tried asking myself, why? Why did I want to be Joker and not the Batman? And many years later, I found the answer. Because what Heath Ledger did in that film was something real, something extraordinary, with a force so powerful that had rarely been seen before on the big screen. And in the little child back then, in little Ștefan, something clicked. And I realized that I wanted to do something real. I wanted to bring something personal to each and every one of my roles. What I didn't know back then was that was going to be the last complete role I would ever see Heath Ledger in. I know it sounds weird, but back then when I was 11, I didn't have a phone. I had limited access to the internet, and when I usually searched the internet, I played on Miniclip and Clopoțel. Yeah. So the news that Heath Ledger was no longer with us hadn't reached me yet. He had died in January, about 6 months before the movie was released. He never got to see it. He was 28. And many people speculated that he delved too deeply into the part, that the role took a toll on him. But when I finally found out that he died, there was one thing that stuck with me. That number, 28. And that's when I told myself that I have all the time in the world before I turn 28 to do something big. When you're young, 28 seems like an age from a different world, in a future so distant that you cannot even imagine it. By the time I turned 28, I thought I'd make hundreds of films, star in TV series, make it to Hollywood. Maybe if I really pushed myself, I could even win an Oscar. You have no idea how many times I rehearsed my Oscar acceptance speech in the mirror. Sometimes I would cry, sometimes I'd be serious, sometimes I'd crack a joke, sometimes I'd thank my parents, sometimes I'd thank Romania. Last December, I turned 27. I'm exactly the same age Heath Ledger was when he did The Dark Knight. I haven't made hundreds of films. I haven't made it to Hollywood, and I haven't won an Oscar. I've never felt further away from my 11-year-old dream than I feel right now. When I look at other actors my age, like Timothée Chalamet, Tom Holland, Paul Mescal, Harris Dickinson, of all the actors who made it, of all the actors that are now playing the parts that I thought I was supposed to play, I get frustrated. I get jealous of them and their success and their opportunities. And I always, sometimes I tell myself that they're not even that good. That I could have played Spider-Man much better than Tom Holland had I had the same opportunities than him. But comparing myself to them is not really fair, is it? Because everyone has their own path, and if mine is a bit more difficult and goes right through Romania, then so be it. I'm not done yet, sorry. I always thought that life ended at 28, that it was some sort of benchmark for me. But it doesn't have to. We have to enjoy the lives that we have because these are the only ones that we have, so that kind of makes them the best, right? Why do we focus so much on the past when we have our whole lives ahead of us? I know sounds cheesy, and you've probably heard it 1,000 times. We all have regrets and things that we haven't succeeded in. And I don't think there is one person in this very room who has a perfect streak of successes. And if they say they do, they're lying. There's nothing wrong with setting big goals, with dreaming far and wide, but I think the most important thing is to not sabotage yourself, to not feel that you haven't done everything you've planned, then it automatically means you failed. Just like you sometimes ask your teachers to extend the deadline for an essay, you can do the same with those big dreams. Because those are the only things that give us purpose. They are the only things that keep us moving forward. And there's one more thing you should never lose, and that is your ambition. I remember 6 years ago, I attended this film festival where I met Cillian Murphy. You know him, the guy from Peaky Blinders and Oppenheimer? Yeah. So it was the closing ceremony, and I was in the restroom, and I just stumbled upon him, and I absolutely made a fool of myself. Later that night, I received an award, and as I was leaving the gala, guess who comes up to me, puts his arm around me, and congratulates me? Cillian Murphy. The same guy that probably thought I was the biggest idiot when we met in the bathroom. Fast forward a few hours, and there was this girl I had a crush on, and she came to me and she was like, can you introduce me to Cillian? And I was like, of course, Cillian is my friend. He's my dude. So I come up to him. He was already talking to somebody. He was in the middle of a conversation, and it didn't matter. I started talking. The girl left, and I chatted with him for about an hour. And then as I realized that I had probably spoken a bit too much, I wanted to leave. And he hugged me. And he told me something. He looked me dead in the eye, and he told me, be fearless. Always be fearless. And that is something that stuck with me. That is something I remind myself whenever fear tries to hold me back. In closing, I would like to briefly return to Heath Ledger. Do you know how many minutes The Dark Knight has? 152 minutes. Do you know how many minutes Heath Ledger appears in Dark Knight as the Joker? 33. Yet he makes his presence felt throughout the whole film. So if your lives were those 152 minutes, you don't have to make all of them memorable. Just 33 of them. But that doesn't mean the rest don't matter. Thank you.